Hey, everyone. This is Let Me See Your Transcript, your very favorite history teacher. I am so sorry I'm over here having a praise break by myself. How are y'all doing this evening? How are y'all doing? I want you guys to please come in the room, have your favorite drink, have your favorite snack, and please come on in. Sean71, I emailed you the link to come on the panel with us. Vita V, can you hear me now? Can everybody put one in the chat if you can hear me? Hi, Miss Furlow Speaks. Hi, Kakira. Come on in the room. Please like, share, subscribe. Sean71, did you get my email with the link? Come on in the room. I was playing a song and I'm like, I'm doing this praise break by myself. Come on in the room. So, ladies and gentlemen, I told you yesterday on my Declutter self-care live that I was going to be having some special guests today. Today I'm having Maurice McLean, who wrote the Fantabulous book called Divorcing the Cult. He is a former member of Christ Apostolic Temple in Des Moines, Iowa. We're also joined by Just D from the Just D Show, who is also a former member. We're waiting on two more guests. And Vita V, who you heard on the show before, will be joining us shortly. And then I'm waiting on Sean71 to grab the link and come on up. So thank y'all for being patient. Thank you for dealing with us with the technical difficulties. I appreciate you for understanding. Okay. So apologies to my panelists. I thought I muted so I could play the song, but then no one heard the song. I am so sorry about that. Hey, Monica's Views and News. Thank y'all so much for being here. So let me bring up my panelists. The other two will be joining us a little bit later. All righty. How are y'all doing?
Good. Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you too. How you doing, D?
I'm good. How are you, Kim?
I'm doing good. Okay, just FYI, I go by Let Me See Your Transcript.
I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
No, you didn't know. It's just like I got people that like
Gotcha.
the docs and
Gotcha. Gotcha.
All right. So I want you well, who wants to go first? All right. So
I'm trying to
Go ahead.
I was trying to get in the app so I could share it to my Facebook. I'll go first. That's fine.
Okay.
I go by D. My name is Dante, but I go by D. So that's why my show is called Just D Show. I'm a former member of Christ Apostolic Temple. I joined in the year 2000, at the very end of 2000, when I was 19. And at that time, I was under the leadership of Bishop Jeremiah Reed, who is Dwight Reed's father. So I was a member from 2000 until 2006, and that's when I left. Maurice and I know each other because we were there at the same time. I was very close with his grandmother, and so we are family that's just not related. Very happy to be here, and that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Maurice?
I'm Maurice. I live in LA now. Former member of, I'll say a survivor of Christ Apostolic Temple. I left about 8 years ago, and just sharing my story and others to help us all come to some sort of healing.
Okay, so Maurice, you were under Bishop Jeremiah Reed and Dwight Reed at one time,
No, just under Bishop
just under
Jeremiah
the
Reed.
father.
Yeah, just under the father. Yep. But I
Okay.
definitely know Dwight.
Oh, okay. All right.
Mhm.
Yes,
So
we know him very well.
okay. So just D, how did you get join the church in 2000? Because I think Maurice, you were raised in the church, right?
Correct. Born and raised. Yes.
Born and raised in
So
the church. So
he
just
was
how did you join
he
it?
was like little when I joined. Basically, my older sister, she was a member there. My older brother was a member there. And I had graduated high school. I moved in with my best friend, my sis Elissa, her mom and family. And then my sister was like, I really want you to move to Des Moines, because we were always really close. And she was like, I'm a part of this church and it's really like a family. And I had heard of the church because growing up, Apostolic Pentecostal, a lot of the churches were like together under these political organizations. So at the time, um, the leadership that I had been under in Omaha, Nebraska, at Greater Bethlehem Temple, that pastor's name was Bishop Nelson G. Turner. Well, Nelson G. Turner and Jeremiah Reed had issues,
Mm,
political church issues, where the
okay.
churches kind of didn't really get along. So it was kind of like when I left from Omaha and I moved to Des Moines, some people almost felt a little betrayed, but I was like, well, that's where my sister is. I didn't know anything about Christ Apostolic. It was just because my
Mhm,
sister and my brother were a member there. So
mhm.
when I moved, to Des Moines, moved with her, I became a member and I was 19, turning 20, and I'm now 40. So that
Oh,
lets you know how far back I go. And that's why, of course, Maurice was, more like younger when I joined, but I
mhm.
joined because of her and my brother. And my brother got married there to his first
Hmm.
wife. So that's how I ended up getting there.
Oh, okay. And what was your experience like? What made you say, okay, my sister's here, my brother's here, I'm going to join? So, what was like your first experiences there? Were they positive or were you like questioning, but you just went along with it? Like,
So
what did you do?
it actually was super positive because, like, I would go visit my sister, and that's when she was just like, "Why don't you just move here? Since like you like it." I mean, it was very family oriented at the time. She had like kind of her little clique of friends, and I've always been an older soul, so I hung out with my older sister and all of her older friends. And they were like, just move here. We're all a big family. They would go out to Bishop Jeremiah Reed's ranch. My sister would talk so highly of Bishop Jeremiah Reed and the temple and how it was just like a family. And that's how it made me feel. So I was like, okay, well, even though I'm leaving, essentially the church I pretty much grew up in Omaha, I'm going to be a part of this family. And they were very welcoming. And I can even remember when I guess you could call her the assistant to Nelson G. Turner, but we know she was technically his side chick. That's a whole nother subject.
Wait,
Um,
oh, wait a minute.
I'm
Wait,
just saying, she
wait
was
a
the one that
minute.
convinced
Wait a
me,
minute.
like,
Hold on. I'm
well,
trying
if
to get
that's
some
where you
stuff
want to
right.
go.
Hmm.
Um, Hold on. We got some problems. Where are my mods? Joshua Robinson. I'm gonna need you to calm down. Welcome. Okay. Uh, I don't know who Rochelle Vanderpool is, but just come on in if you can. If we have freedom of speech over here, but we stay on the subject. We don't beef in the chat. So if you can, before I have to or my mods have to, can you delete your own comments, or do I need to delete it for you? I'm glad you're here, but I need you to whew, need you to calm down now. And you gave out somebody's whole name, and we don't be doxing folks unless they tell us their name. Hello, Miss Jessica Farrow. Okay. I'm putting in the chat. This is a link to Just D show, so please subscribe.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is he good?
I don't know. It may be a delay, so
Oh, I didn't see.
there you go. All right. Oh, okay. All right. So that's a Just D show. Okay. Well, there may be a okay. Okay, Joshua, you're doing it again. Okay, Vita. I was trying to give him an opportunity to let them correct themselves. I'm sorry, that's a teacher, B. Do I need to correct you, or do you want to correct yourself? That's just me. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So, hey, Leroy Moore Jr. So glad. Uh, it's the same church, but these are other people who've had different experiences, and they're here to tell their side. So we're going to listen to them. Okay, but I'm glad you're here. Okay. All right. So, okay. So just to recap, before we got interrupted, I need to stay at the chat. So Just D, you were from Omaha.
Mm-hmm.
Your sister and your brother were going to Christ Apostolic Temple in Des Moines, Iowa. You were in another church, I guess a holiness church, or was it
apostolic Pentecostal? So yeah, like basically Jeremiah Reed and Nelson G. Turner were under the leadership of Bishop Foster.
Okay, who is Bishop Foster?
So Bishop Foster was like basically the founder of not the PAW, but of the Tri-City, what was it? Nebraska, Iowa, I think Wyoming, the Tri-City Council. So like I said, these churches are very political. Mm-hmm. And your rank, your title determines everything. So my mother, who is now a member at Christ Apostolic right now under Dwight Reed, is the only reason I'm even paying attention to any of this, because I convinced her when she asked me some years ago, should I go there? I was like, well, yeah, because I thought it was different. I didn't know Dwight was on the stuff that he's on now. So my mother actually came up with Nelson G. Turner from GBT in Omaha, as well as Bishop Jeremiah Reed, which is Dwight's father.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So my history with all of these churches, they're all connected, even though they have different organizations. Mm-hmm. And it's been a lot of sexual scandals in all of them that have been hidden. When I was a child, one of the girls got raped at our church at GBT, and she had to go upstairs and sit next to the predator. You hear about these things when you're a teenager, and then you become
go upstairs and sit next to the predator.
Like, he sexually assaulted her in the choir room, and she was told to still go upstairs and sit in the sanctuary like nothing happened. So it's like this kind of history of, if you're sexually assaulted, you're not supposed to speak about it. And it happened to me as well, not by Jeremiah Reed or Dwight, but I was molested as a child by some, foster relative in the church, and I was raped as an adult by a person who I was in a relationship that was also a member of the church. So it's very.
I'm so sorry that happened to you. I just want to just get clarification. So the molestation happened in the church in Omaha.
Right.
And when did the rape happen by the person you were in a relationship with?
So the rape happened when I was a member of Christ Apostolic.
So let's I'm sorry to keep her.
That's
So we're
okay.
trying to keep the timeline. I'm all about
Okay.
history, but I need to know the
Gotcha.
timeline of events. Okay. So, and I'm really sorry that happened to you. And if any of anyone else is in the chat, y'all listening to this may be triggering for some because we're dealing with a heavy, very heavy situation that has happened to Dee and Maurice and others in a church, which we think, hey, it's not supposed to happen here, but it does. Okay. Welcome, V to V. So glad you can make it.
Well, hello. Hello, everybody.
I'm
Dee
doing
and Marie.
good.
Hey, I'm glad to see you guys still,
How is
still around and still clucking.
how is the little one? You feeling
She's
better?
fine. She's feeling a lot better. It's hot, so
Oh,
she's
okay.
she's feeling a lot better right now. She's taking a breather, get a little treatment, so she's all right for right now.
All right. I'm glad she's praying for her and glad she's okay.
Thank
So
you.
just the when you join the church, what's one of the first things that you remember?
I remember the bus trips that we would take. Um, Bishop Jeremiah Reed at the time had a charter bus with
Mhm.
Christ Apostolic as well as vans. So we traveled a lot to different churches for events, councils, national conventions. So it was just like, this is my new family. It was not, it wasn't a place where when you joined, you feared anything. It's just like a narcissistic relationship. Once you're in it, that's when you start seeing little things.
Hmm.
So, but initially it was very loving, very welcoming. Um, Bishop would call me Shelly, my sister name, sister for the longest time.
Mhm.
And he treated me like a daughter. He
Hmm.
never, came on to me or anything like that because I think he knew better than to even try me like that. But it wasn't like oh, this is a terrible place. You don't know it's a cult. You just think this is your church and this is your
Mhm.
church family.
Okay. Okay. So what was one of the first ministries that you did you have to join a ministry once you joined the church?
No, when I first became a member, I'm actually very shy at first, so I just was kind of low key. I would say after about 6 months, I started to become active with the
Hmm.
choir, music
Okay.
department, kitchen. So it was like I gradually started kind of branching out. By the time I left, I was active in every single department at that church, including Bishop Reed's board. So I know
Oh.
a lot of things that a lot of the members don't know that was going on
Oh.
behind closed doors, especially financially.
Oh, okay.
I was also a part of they called it the SWAT team, which is their spiritual warfare attack team.
What?
That's where, yeah, they called it spiritual warfare attack team. There were people that Bishop Reed, Jeremiah Reed, handpicked to be on that team, people who are
Mhm.
spiritual warriors, people who have experience with the spirit world and fighting spirits and things like that. So that's where the Hannibal Church comes into play for me because I went to that church to pray spirits out of that church, and at that time we didn't know what was causing it. I'm just now
Mhm.
finding out what was going on that has was causing this craziness 20 years ago. That's
Okay,
why this
so you're on the spiritual SWAT
warfare
team,
attack
warfare
team,
team, the SWAT team, and they
right?
say, okay, D and y'all go to Hannibal and pray the bad spirits out of this
Go,
church.
yeah,
What
go
year was that?
cleanse the church. So we started the SWAT team in 2003.
Mm-hmm.
No, end of 2002, going into 2003, because Bishop Jeremiah Reed started his own organization. Actually, it's 2003. JCAC, which was called Jesus Christ Apostolic Churches. He came out of the PAW, which was the
Mm-hmm.
Pentecostal Assemblies of the World, because he
Uh-huh.
said that they were practicing Trinity. So he started his own organization prior to the Apostolic Oneness Network. I was on the committee
Okay.
that founded the Apostolic Oneness Network, as well as was on the TV broadcast. So
Oh
I was
wow.
a videographer, I was an editor, I was a B-roll shooter, and I was a production specialist. That's where I get my background in production and TV broadcasting. So when I tell you I was involved, I was heavily involved in this ministry, thinking this was God's will, when all along it really was a cult, and we just didn't know it until we came out of it.
Okay. So when you went to Hannibal, did you hear anything about any type of, covering up, or the youth minister?
Not initially. I am one of those people I'm an investigator. Some would say nosy. I investigate things because I'm an empath and I have other gifts, and I can feel, see, and hear energy. Um, I and then because of my own experience, when you are sexually abused, you can feel that in other people. You can tell when it's happening and they're hiding it. So when we first went, I could feel the spirits in there, and I kept telling the sisters, I hear children screaming. I hear children crying while we were praying against these demonic forces. That was when I was like, okay, something's going on that they're covering up. And I told Bishop Jeremiah Reed that in confidence, like privately. I had an own private meeting. I said, Bishop, something's going on in this church, because every time we go there, I can hear them, I can feel them. I said, something's not right, and there's things being hidden. I said, now there's rumors going around that there's sexual abuse going on. They didn't say who it was, but we were just hearing rumors that people were saying, oh, there's kids claiming that, they're being molested. I said, then we need to investigate that. Like, I don't care what nobody says. And they're like, well, no, Bishop said, leave it alone. They're just trying to make Robin look bad. They're trying to make the leadership look bad. This is about money. The kids' parents want money. So it's like, okay, but I know what I'm feeling when we're here praying. And I know that we could not clear that church. Out of all the churches and buildings and people that we've cleansed, that particular church, they just stayed. The spirit stayed. And so I told him, I said, look, if there's things that are going on and you're telling us not to question it, I can't be a part of this, because I don't have any proof, but I know what I'm feeling. And I know when we go into spiritual warfare, what I'm seeing. And it's hard to prove that to people, especially people that don't believe in that. They want to say you're crazy, you're delusional. I was born with certain gifts. And that's why Bishop picked me to be on that team, because when I'm in a certain realm, I can combat and fight against, just like the Bible says, we have dominion over demonic forces. But when you are doing things that are inviting those forces, then that's why you're like, because Rob and all of them would report stuff would be moving around by itself. They would see certain demonic, flashes that would come up, all this craziness. And we were not allowed to even talk to the children, because I asked one of the sisters, I pulled her to the side. I said, look, I know that Bishop said, don't question it. I know that it's going against leadership, but I'm telling you, I feel something's not right. I was like, can we talk to the kids? She's like, no, we can't. Like, if you say or do anything that Bishop says not to do, you will be put out. And essentially, because I did address it more than once, that's when I started being treated differently. Because I know something's not right, and I know something's being hidden, and I know how they cover for each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it would just be like, why are you questioning it? Why are you being a troublemaker? No, I'm trying to make sure that this is not happening, because if it is, we have to report it. And so it's, one person made a comment under the, what is this, Safe House on Muzzle post about, well, if you heard rumors, you're just as guilty. You can't go to police with rumors. You can't go to police with hearsay. Someone would have had to say, yes, this happened to me, and okay, let's go to the police. But we couldn't even talk to the kids. So it's like, I would be like, why can't we just pull one to the side just to confirm? And they were like, because you'll get in trouble. So after all that went down, I let Bishop know. I said, I can't be a part of this anymore, because of what happened to me as a child. And because even though we don't have proof, I know what I'm feeling, on top of the fact that when I would address them about it, it was a quick denial and shutdown. It wasn't like, let's talk about it. It's like, don't talk about that. Don't bring that up. You're starting up trouble. No, I just want to make sure nobody's actually being hurt because I know what it's like to go through that.
Was it by the youth pastor or the senior pastor, or was it someone on her staff?
See, and that's the thing. It was like they said that all the ministers were involved, but they would not name who.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things you hear from other members. They're saying, oh, well, yeah, you know, they saying Robin and all of them are in on it. And these kids are complaining. I said, then why isn't nothing being done? Why isn't anybody at that church? Because we didn't live in Hannibal. We live in Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're traveling to go back and forth to cleanse the church out. And it's not like we're traveling every single week. It's when we're called upon. It's kind of like being a nurse, you know, on call. When Bishop would call, hey, go cleanse the church. We get on the road and we go cleanse the church. So I had even addressed that lady in the comment. I said, first of all, I don't play that because it had happened to me as a child. If I would have had proof,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is really happening, I wouldn't have cared what nobody said. I would have called the police anonymously and reported it.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any proof, but I had rumors that I was hearing. And that's
Did you
what I
hear
addressed to her.
Did you hear any rumors about Kakera and her situation with the deacon, her father?
No, that I did not know about. Like I said, a lot of the stuff that's been coming out these past few weeks is like an eye opener to me, because the only thing I heard was that the leadership, which means pastor, ministers, that it was being said that they might have been doing something, but never like about her daughter. I didn't hear about that part.
Oh, okay. So after you told Bishop Jeremiah Reed about this, you said that you told him you couldn't do this and you started being treated differently. How were you treated differently?
Like basically, where you're considered quote unquote the in crowd, meaning you get invited to events that are with the leadership, you know, with the bishops. You get invited to Bishop's house. You get included in on the different meetings and information that's being discussed. But next thing you know, now you're not on the board anymore. Because you questioned not only what was happening there, but I questioned the monetary things that they lied about, the government grants that were being allocated to board members to pay certain board members rent, who were, it was said that it may have been something going on between those board members and the pastor. So it's things like that that I know, and they knew that I knew. And I was even told to my face, well, they said you know too much. So if you leave, they're going to come after you, which they did.
What were other ways they came after you?
Basically, like telling everybody not to deal with you, leave her alone. She's a sinner. She's a backslider. She's a liar. Get away from her. Don't deal with her. Don't talk to her. People would come to my job because I had 3 jobs at the time. One of the jobs I worked at the mall. They would come to the mall and see me and not even speak. I'm talking about the church members would come walk right into my department at Dillard's and not speak to me, not say nothing. Just act like I didn't exist. Very cold.
What you come
very
to
cold,
Dillard's
very
for?
mafia.
You came all. Sorry, you came all
That's
the way.
what I'm saying. I moved all the way here for this. But it wasn't like that initially. It wasn't like that until you start really getting involved. Then once you're involved and now you're one of them, you have this expectation to do what you're told and never question anything. And if you do question it, then you're like the enemy of the state, basically.
So did you, okay, let me ask a question. You said you were there from 2000 to when?
2006.
2006.
So I left in 2006.
So what, okay, so this is 2003. You're trying to cast out demons, spirits into the church. They're ostracizing you. They're doing these things. When were the sexual assault happen?
So with me, it happened in 2005 because I had actually left the church a few times and came back. So I was in and out the church because I really believe God was doing my awakening then. It was just certain things I would see, like Bishop threatening to kill people or have people killed. Him threatening that if you talk against the church, you'll end up in a river, just crazy stuff like that. And I was like, even though I know I was raised in these churches, this is a different type of energy. This is very mafia cult.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard threats over the pulpit, not even from the church in Omaha. It wasn't until I went to that church in Des Moines that it was like, why is he saying this? And even on the TV broadcast, he would come into the office and tell us what to cut out, what to edit out of the show. This is in-house. And anytime he said, if y'all ever hear me say this is in-house, cut the cameras off, don't film. And if the camera picks it up, he would come over to the JCAC building, because that's where we did all the editing and production. And he had to sign off on every video production that went out. And he would be like, this is in-house, cut this out, replace this with B-roll, replace this with an ad. Like, it was crazy. It was really crazy.
Bishop Jeremiah Reed is saying this.
Right. This is Dwight's father.
Okay, so let me ask a question, because now I noticed something when Bishop Dwight Reed is on. Like, did his father do this? Like, I'm watching the live and then it ends, and then you can't even go back to the replay. It's gone. The video's gone. Did he do that too?
No, Jeremiah Reed didn't. He didn't have us do all of that because he wasn't as technologically advanced as Dwight. Dwight has turned that church into an entire business. Mm-hmm. Even the way that he has the AON now. When we first started the AON, it was not set up like that. You did have to purchase a satellite, but there was no monthly fee to watch. Once you had a satellite, everything was just streamed and you could go back and watch. I was even able to watch videos from when I used to sing in the choir. So it's like the way he has that now, he has it set up to where, because my mom even told me, she's like, you have to pay a monthly fee just to watch. He's turned, even though he started a studio, you've turned everything into a business to gain for profitable gain, which is why you marrying an 18-year-old is not a surprise, because that was set up as a business arrangement.
And that's what, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. It started way before Dwight with the mental conditioning, the emotional abuse. The first time I went out of town to visit one of my homegirls who was in the church, her mom was a pastor. I didn't ask for permission. I was 21 years old. Did not ask for permission. I had been there a couple of years. Went out of town to Iowa City, visited my friend. Her mom had a church. They had a whole youth night. We were all at the house. There was no sex. There was nothing going on. We were playing Bible games and watching movies. Mm-hmm. And the mom was there the whole time for the whole youth, committee. Mm-hmm. When I came back, the assistant pastor at that time, I guess she had told him I went out of town, and he called me out over the pulpit and said, why did you go out of town without asking me first? I'm the watchman over your soul. I'm the overseer. You don't know these people. They could be crazy. They could be gay.
One of my attention. Go ahead.
So it was very controlled. It was like, I didn't know I had to get permission to go out of town. And then he said, well, so are y'all gay? Are y'all lesbians? I'm like, what? Like, we just had a whole church weekend. Like, it was just crazy.
Okay. So I'm just listening to this, and I'm just sorry. My dog is really trying to get my attention. Mm-hmm. And he wants all the rubs and hugs and everything. So you said the sexual assault happened in 2005. Right. You said was it a member of this church, Christ Apostolic Temple?
Technically, okay. It was someone who I previously had been in a relationship with when I was a teenager. Him and his brother came to Des Moines to visit. They were members of the church in Omaha that I originally grew up in. They were looking for a different church home. They came to visit and wanted to become members at Christ Apostolic, but because of the political issues between Jeremiah Reed and Nelson G. Turner, they actually got in trouble for coming to Des Moines. So at that time when they were coming is when him and I reconnected. And we got a place in Omaha. Bishop Jeremiah Reed found out, had the members to call me, daughter, you need to come home, because he always referred to me as daughter. And I was like, well, Bishop, I'm in a relationship and we're planning to get married.
Sorry.
He was like, well, both of y'all come then. He's like, I'll pay for your apartment. I'll pay for your move. He's like, I'll even set, your other half up with a new job so that he's not without a job. So that's how we got back to Des Moines. That's how Bishop got me to come back. While we were members there, a lot happened personally within his life that kind of led him down a dark path. And I watched him kind of change. We would counsel with Bishop, and I left him a few times, like told him I didn't want to be with him. The last time I left, when I
Were
came
you
home,
married to him at that time?
no, we were not married. And that's the other thing. Bishop knew we were not married, and yet paid for us to move there and told us to keep it hush hush. Don't let anybody at the church know.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, it was like he wanted me to be there because of how involved I had been in the church and how dedicated I was. And I believed him. I was like, well, Bishop to me was my spiritual father. So it was like the places where I didn't have that fathering, he kind of, stepped in and fulfilled that place. So I trusted him at that time. But at the end of the day, long story short, a lot of things transpired in my ex's life that led him to a very dark place. And he had inner childhood trauma, unresolved trauma. And when the sexual assault happened, it was because I had told him I didn't want to go through with the wedding planning. I didn't want to be with him, none of that. And I left and, moved into a hotel. I was coming back and forth to get clothes. And that's when the sexual assault happened. I only told Bishop Reed and my cousin-in-law at that time. And it was really traumatizing.
Did they tell you to go to the police or to the hospital?
No. He told me to go to a hospital to get checked. He was like, but don't file a report because they'll arrest him.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, and I don't want this to turn into, a big ordeal where the news is involved and it's a scandal at the church. So he said, I will counsel you through it. And as far as him, do you want us to remove him? And I said, what do you mean, Bishop? He said, well, I can have people remove him from the face of the earth because of what he did to you.
Oh, what?
I'm telling you what my former pastor told me. He said, I can have him removed from the face of the earth for what he did to you. So it's your call. I can make some calls. Nobody will hear from him ever again. You heard that clearly from the bishop. So that's what I mean. It was very, very cult, very mafia. He did try to counsel with me. I was so damaged that I did not leave. After it happened, I laid on the bed and cried for 4 hours. He was like, why are you crying? I was like, do you understand what you just did? In his mind, he did not assault me. In his mind, he said I wanted it. I said I was screaming and telling you to stop. So it was for me going through that, along with seeing the spiritual wickedness, was why I left. And Maurice is right. It was very normal to be told, don't go to the police. Let us counsel with you so that it doesn't get out, But on the same hand, do you want us to remove this person from the face of the earth?
I thought he meant like removing from the church, like like excommunication, that type of thing.
He did that as well. He excommunicated a lot of people, but no, in his mind, it's, oh, you hurt somebody I know. Okay, well, you're not going to live anymore. So I told him, I said, I can't live with that. I couldn't. There's no way. Even though, yeah, it was terrible. I said, I can't be responsible for that. So what I did is I I tried, because at that time, that's when I realized how much I didn't love myself. I was like, well, maybe we can heal. Maybe we can counsel. Maybe, God will help us through this, through Bishop. And it took me having to wake up and realize I'm accepting abuse. I'm staying in a situation I shouldn't be in. And I've told my leader, and all he offered to do was to have him removed, but not like go to the police and tell them. In fact, he was like, don't do that because I don't want it to get out. Des Moines is small. Looking back, I wish I would have, because I carried that for over a decade and never talked about it other than to my cousin-in-law, and at that time, one of my best friends. It's even hard now to talk about it,
Have you
but
gone
it's
to
the reality.
therapy?
I have. I've gone to therapy. I've been working with a life coach. I even joined support groups for it.
That's good.
So that's what I'm saying. For me, the trauma led to my healing, but my healing didn't begin until I left that church. And that's just the truth.
Wow. Mm. Well, I'm glad you did leave the church finally for good, and did get, like you said, you went to therapy, support groups, life coaching, to be better.
I
What
want
is
to
it?
point out real quick too, one thing Bishop Jeremiah Reed did a lot was teach, um, how do I say this? He would teach marriage across the pulpit, that if your other half didn't want to have sex with you, that you could take it.
That's rape.
Exactly.
What?
And at the time, you're hearing this and you're sitting in the audience like, but
Sorry,
isn't
my
that
dog.
rape? Like, why are you teaching? Well, if she don't, and he would say, well, if you don't give him none, he can go get some somewhere else. He would teach that you do whatever your other half wants you to do, no matter what. Otherwise, they can take it from you or they can go get it elsewhere. And these were things that were considered as quote unquote in-house conversations that got cut out of the TV broadcasts.
What would you like for? What do you want to have to be done about Christ Apostolic Temple? Let's just
I
say
want I would love to see those who are still there, especially my mother, to please wake up and see what you're in. It's not a church, it's not a church family, it's a cult. And they are practicing idolatry and other forms of wickedness. My hope is that her and other people who are there, who I love, that they will wake up and look at the corruption that has been going on and stop silently accepting it, including him being married to Jordan. I was at Jordan's mother's baby shower. I remember when she was born. It's utterly disgusting. It's utterly inappropriate, and he does need to be put out of that church. I pray that the premonition God showed me comes to pass with the chains on the door, because it needs to be shut down. And everybody there, go find a real church, because that's not one. It's not. How are you 63 marrying an 18-year-old? She's 19 now. She was 18 when you married her. And you knew it was a business arrangement that you set up with her father. I sang in the choir with her mother and her father. I was in jam sessions with James. I was a musician. I was a section leader. I was in the choir. That's what I'm saying. I want people to wake up, get out, because God's going to shut it down. Like, please wake up and get out and get a real church home if that's what you want, or better yet, find God for yourself like I did.
What do you hope for those who have already left?
That they will find their healing. I really do.
And what would you suggest they do? Because there's some who are still I
Well,
can say go to therapy, go to this, but I haven't lived that similar experience. I'm
I
hoping
will
with
say
you.
talk to each other about it. Definitely, Maurice and I and other former members, when we started to talk to each other about our experiences, when we realized that we all share the same experience, understand that it's okay to talk about it, but please go to therapy. I understand that in the Black community, especially, it's frowned upon to go to therapy, but therapy, life coaches, support groups, it's there to help you heal. So please use those resources, because if you're still there, you're involved in a cult that's practicing witchcraft and spiritual wickedness and sexual abuse behind closed doors, and everything's being swept under the rug. So now God's taking the rug. Sorry, that's my dog. It's okay.
Sorry, he's just every little noise he wants to do. Anything else you want to add?
Just to the survivors from Hannibal, I am praying for you. I am praying for your healing. I am so sorry for what you went through. And if I would have known that it was true, I would have done something. So understand that it's not your fault and that you can overcome the trauma. And above all, don't give up on God because of these people's wickedness, because God does love you and God is still there.
Okay. I'm about to put a link in the chat so that if you are looking for a therapist, wait, boy, stop. Okay. This is called www.betterhelp.com. You will need to put in your zip code, and it will help you find a therapist. Um, I do have another video that deals with religious trauma. Okay. And the one that I put in there, that is for to find a Black therapist. Okay. Not to say that therapy is not, I mean, there are other, qualified therapists that you can find, but sometimes you may need a therapist that is much more culturally aware, you know. Here's one for therapy for Black girls, Black women. Okay. So, uh, Maurice, you still here? You still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay. Is there anything like I know? Thank you, Jess D, for sharing your story with us, and please stay because I want to ask something because you came in as a 20-year-old. Maurice was a little kid. Maurice, were you aware of the SWAT team
I was, yes.
that Just D was a part of?
Hmm.
Okay, were you a part of the SWAT team or did somebody
No,
else? Huh?
no, but I watched it closely because um, at the time, during the time when D was coming, I was very young. If I think if it was around 2000, my dad was just becoming a minister in 99, 2000. And so he
Mm-hmm.
worked closely with a lot of other ministers in the church. And there was one who was basically the head of like the recent demon team.
Mm.
And I won't say her name, but I know she was on the SWAT team as well. And there was a lot of like spiritual warfare, demonics, and she was over that. So, and she was
Can you
also one
remind
of
us what? I'm sorry. Can you remind everybody what the demon team was?
The Demon Team in 2013 was formed, and that was the team who basically prayed for every member going in and out of the church to check and scan whether they had demons or not, and they would be able to check by seeing if they could smell it, taste it, hear it, or see it.
And this is under Bishop Jeremiah Reed, right?
Correct. Yes. Correct.
Okay. All right. So this lady's on the demon team and she's on the SWAT team. Okay.
Correct.
So did you hear anything about what was going on in Hannibal?
You know what? I didn't hear anything that went on in Hannibal until actually a year or two ago when I would talk to Vita B about it. So at the time, no. But I do remember trips going down to Hannibal, and we would do what they were crusades. And so that was kind of just going knocking on people's door and trying to invite individuals to church. And so that is kind of how Robin got a lot of her membership, is when we would go and do these crusades.
Absolutely.
Were they lots of young people?
They were. Yep. Those were the main people who were receptive, were either young people.
Maurice? You still there? What happened? Can y'all hear me? Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Somehow I think we lost Maurice.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you too.
All right. Maurice, you still there? Maybe he lost connection. Fred Samuel. Yeah, I agree, Uncle Fred. They would have to show me that in the Bible. Where is the demon team? You missed the part about the spirit of SWAT team, because that was interesting too. Okay, he's probably gonna come back, y'all. Oh, are y'all okay?
I tell you what, that I heard about the demon team from one of my nephews, and he told me that it was nothing like when I was on the SWAT team. The SWAT team was set up specifically to cleanse spirits out and perform exorcisms. That's what we were set up for. The demon team was some mess they put together for them to have people scan people when they entered the church. And my nephew told me all about it. He said, yeah, they have people wave their hands over your body to see if they can smell or sense if you've had sex and or if you're gay. And if they felt like you were, they would question you about who you recently had sex with. Did you masturbate? Did you watch things? Like, it was insane. That was nothing like when I was on the SWAT team. A totally different type of mess.
Okay. Maurice, you okay?
Yeah, I'm back.
You were talking and we were like, Maurice, you there?
What was the last thing you guys heard?
You were like, what did you say? You said yes, they were something at the church, and it was like it stopped.
Oh, I believe I was saying they were either young people or a lot of women.
Oh, this is what I was asking. When you were doing the crusades, and I said, Robin, was she getting a lot of these young people when y'all were doing these crusades? It's like she was a youth pastor, right? You said yes, she was. It was a lot of young people. You said and women. Maurice, did he get locked out again? Maurice?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I don't know why it keeps kicking me out all of a sudden.
Okay, because I was just trying to repeat. You said that when you guys were doing the crusades and the youth pastor from Hannibal, she was also getting a lot of young people. And you said women too?
Yeah, so it was a lot of a lot of the people that we would be attracting at that time would be a lot of youth and women. And even to attest to looking, they say hindsight is 2020, and looking back on different situations and scenarios, I didn't know a lot that was going on in Hannibal, but I remember during conventions that we had, this same youth, she wasn't a youth pastor at the time. She was basically just the pastor's daughter. And, everybody just thought she was pretty and whatnot, especially the younger people. And she would always make jokes like, this was her new boyfriend and whatnot. And what was funny about it, it was one of my best friends.
Oh, wow.
And we were definitely minors at the time. And, when you're a kid, when you're young, you think that stuff is cool. Like, ooh, I got an older girlfriend and whatnot.
Mhm.
And you don't take it too seriously because you're 12, 13 years old. And I remember one time I remember her actually grabbing his genitals. Yeah. So I absolutely believe what these young people are saying, because apparently she's been
Who
that way.
else? I'm sorry. Who else was there when she did this?
You know what was crazy about it is we were actually in the sanctuary. And because there was a lot of commotion going on, like nobody was really paying attention.
But you saw it. Did anyone else
Yeah.
see it?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I do remember them joking around and acting like they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
That's
Yeah. And I'm 33 now, and we were probably 12 or 13. Not much older than that. Yeah.
how old was she? How old was she?
She had to have been in her 20s, because I know she was younger, but we knew she was older than us. So she's definitely probably in her 20s at the time.
And y'all were 12 or 13, and she's pretending that your friend is her boyfriend?
Yes.
Is your friend okay now?
You know what? He's actually in a situation now that I can't really discuss, but yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Oh my goodness. Like, it's like the signs were there, but
Right. Yeah.
you the pastor's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
and you saying, "Oh, this is my little boyfriend,"
Mm-hmm.
and nobody thought, like, "Girl, stop saying that, stop doing that."
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. And y'all going on crusades, and everybody she got is young and a woman. Like, that wasn't like, wait a minute.
Mm-mm.
Stuff like that would happen a lot, and it would just be like, well, oh well.
Mm-hmm.
Or most of the time, adults didn't believe the younger people.
Mm-mm.
There was people that didn't believe me that what happened to me, said I was lying after I finally talked about it.
Just D, I wanted to ask a question about I forgot to ask you this earlier. When did your mom join the church?
She joined about, what was it, almost 4 years ago. I think she's been there like about 3.5 years. So she joined back in. Matter of fact, she joined after Bishop died, because that was the last time I was at Christ Apostolic. I did go back for his funeral. And he
Your
died in
mom decided to
2018.
join then?
She joined after, because she had moved to Des Moines. My brother had her move there because, she's older in her health.
Mm-hmm.
And she had asked me about it. Initially, when she asked me, I was like, no, don't go there. Like, because I know
Does
how
your
it
brother
was when I
still
was
go
there.
there? Did your brother and sister
No, we
go
all
there?
left years ago. All of, like, my older brother and sister left before I did. But, because again, I had been watching Dwight's progression on Facebook after Bishop died, and then especially after Mother Reed died. And at that time, I thought, okay, he has changed. Maybe the church has changed. Maybe it's better. So when she asked me, I was like, well, Mom, I said, you know how I feel about the church, but if you go there and you find that it helps you, then hey, so be it. If it gives you a sense of purpose, makes you feel good, so be it. I didn't know all the corruption that was going on pertaining to Dwight as far as the young girls at the temple. I had heard about it from when he was in Shreveport and when he was in Texas. I would have never told
Wait,
her to go there.
Texas? Where was he
Yeah,
in Texas?
he was in Texas. I think back in what was it, 2014, I believe. He's pastored other churches and not successfully. So
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, she asked me, and I was like, "Well, yeah, And because I was a former member there, she talked to me a lot. Like, well, who was so and so, and who was this person? And I talked to so and so, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know them. For her, it's like where she's at is where I was when I was there. Well, God is using me, and I'm helping, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that. But she does not know the history of Dwight. And although she knows Bishop Reed, she was not a member of his church. I was a member of his church.
Did you tell her everything that was going on with you?
Yeah. She found, and that's why she was like, I don't know if I should go. And I was like, well, Mom, I don't have any grudges against them. Even when I was in Des Moines last year, I hung out with some of the girls that was at one of my friends' birthday parties that I didn't know were going to be there. So it's not like, oh, I hate them or anything like that. It's just, I'm not a part of that, and I'm not going to be a part of that. So she's been there now about close to 4 years.
Have you told her, Mom, I want you to leave?
I have told her how I feel, but I know my mother, and she's going to make her own decision. But I've definitely let her know how I feel. I've definitely let her know how I feel about him being married to Jordan, essentially, especially because I remember when her mom was pregnant with her. And her thing is, well, I understand that that's wrong to some people, but, God brought me here and I don't really know where else to go. And it's like, you can go other places, but once a person becomes comfortable, and that's how it was for all of us. We could see that some things didn't seem right, but well, we don't have any proof. So we're just going to go along to get along so that you're not the outcast. Because once you leave, you're completely the outcast.
Oh, wow. And your mom is probably at her age. She doesn't want to be in that position.
She does. And that's essentially what she said. Well, I know, but so many people rely on me, and I'm this to the church and I'm that to the church. And I'm thinking, I get it. I was even more deeply involved, but the courage that it took to leave, I know she doesn't have. So that's why it breaks my heart. If my mom wasn't a member there, I wouldn't even be on this panel right now. But her being a member there, it hurts me that I feel like we all kind of were given the okie doke, Dwight portraying that he was different, but you really aren't. Because now, look, you didn't convince these people that you're taking the church in a new direction where it's not going to be quote unquote as strict. But now there's just no boundaries. You just doing whatever. You lawless in the church, and you're leading people into lawlessness instead of leading them to God. And that's the issue that I have.
Do you think he just basically inherited the cult from his dad and just really continuing with the same policies?
I feel like to a certain extent, but Dwight's history of being attracted to and dealing with young girls happened way before he ever took over that church.
What is with him and this pastor from Hannibal?
Right. And I'm going to be real honest with y'all. When I was a member there, Dwight was not in church. In fact, Dwight would come into church and cuss out Bishop Reed during service. He would come and cuss them out. He even swung on them. They had to have the security people escort him out several times. Dwight's ex-wife used to come into church with bruises and everything. So that's why I'm like, bro.
The second one or the third one?
No, the second wife.
Oh, the one that's still in the church too?
I don't believe she's still there. I don't know if she's
there. Well, she was there when.
But I'm just saying, like, you were the rebellious son who was always in the streets. You was out doing everything in the streets, and you was always trying to deal, from what we heard, you were trying to deal with teenage girls and hitting on them. When coming up in church, when you start to become like a teenage girl, yeah, these grown men, they would flirt. And I'm not talking about Christ Apostolic, I'm talking about even the one in Omaha. they would flirt with us and everything when we would go down to the bathroom and all that. So this culture of we're going to pretend like we're so holy and sanctified and shout and speak in tongues, but then down in the bathroom, somebody might be getting it in. Down in the choir room, somebody might be getting sexually assaulted. They might be having consensual sex on the property and you don't know about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was all kind of mess going on behind closed doors, and they wonder why people left. You can't do that in a church and expect people to believe in anything that you're teaching. And it caused so many, myself included, to question God. Is this real? Is Jesus real? Is any of this real, or is this all fake? Because if you're supposed to be leading us to God, but y'all having sex in offices, my former stepdad had sex with women at our church in Nebraska, married women, slept with a 15-year-old girl. Just all this sexual crap that goes on in these apostolic Pentecostal churches. Y'all might as well just, like I told him, you might as well go to the street, because the people in churches is more for the streets than the people out in the street. And you're supposed to be teaching people and leading people to God. And for him to justify Mary and Jordan, for him to lie and say, oh, y'all are lying on me. No, sir. Because plenty of people over the years have talked about you. And I remember when you came in a church yourself and disrespected your father several times in front of all of us and swung on him, cussed him out. You ain't ever been a father to me. Just all out lawless. So that's why when it seemed like he changed, even for me, it was healing. I remember sending him a message like, thank you for being my mother's pastor. Thank you for showing something different. And now, after we didn't believe that you changed, now you expose yourself and you haven't changed at all. You just tricked a bunch of people. Spiritual wickedness, blindly leading the blind. And your whole intention for having that church is money. It has nothing to do with you caring about people being saved. It's all about money.
From what we knew, he was never even supposed to have inherited the church. Bishop
Sure wasn't.
Hated Dwight.
Well, okay, and I wanted to ask about that because I know I've gone over it before, and a lot of people said he wasn't supposed to have the church. Where were the other siblings at?
They've all kind of fell out, but from what I understand, the sister, who absolutely did not like her dad either, helped him get the church back.
Nita May.
Yeah. And so I don't want to bring any conspiracies, but when you're an insider, different things of why and what's going on. And a lot of things have to do with finances.
Because, he claimed that Mother Reed signed over the church and their estate. But from what some of the relatives said, either the signature was forged or it was discussed at a time when she was not mentally coherent. So it's like, you of all people inheriting the church. He has another brother who is not active in the church, but when I was a member, he was. And when I did my own Facebook Live, I said it would have been better for the church to have gone to him instead of Dwight.
Is that the older brother, Brittany's grandfather?
Yes.
Right. And he's nothing like Dwight. So
okay.
He's not like Dwight or Nita May. Nita May and Dwight could not stand Bishop Reed the whole time I was a member there. They were the two most disrespectful of all his children for the entire time I was a member there. They were the two that would come in and disrupt service and act a fool and be going off on him while we're in the middle of service.
Wow.
That's why it kills me to see her sitting there now being fake with Jordan and got Jordan dressed like she's 42 something. We all know she's 19. You can have her dressed like she's 45 all you want. Those of us who remember when that baby was in her mom's belly when she was born, we know her age, sir.
Yeah.
And it's disgusting that you and her and the whole family's in on it. Sean 71, I feel you. That's how we all felt when we walked away. We all felt that way.
I'm so sorry. Sean, did you get my email and my text? Do you need me to send you the link? Just text me or email me, please. All right. I have so many more questions. I know we can't be up here for 3-4 hours. Because I just
It's crazy.
how many children did Bishop Reed and Dr. Reed have?
4, but
4.
their son Michael passed away. I think it was 1995. He had cancer. So they have Jerry and Nita Mae and Dwight.
Oh, okay.
There's 4 and an alleged 5th.
Oh. Huh? What's
Four.
an alleged 5th?
Yeah.
Like before the children or after the children or in between
After
them?
the children. This one was allegedly born in the 80s.
So it'll be well, my age. I'm 44.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I digress.
Could they still be attending the church, or they just like?
No, they allegedly actually live in California.
But what's crazy is Nita sitting up there now. She wasn't a member when I was there. You only came to visit so you could sit there and talk stuff about your dad. But now you sitting up in the church, a faithful member sitting next to his 19-year-old wife.
Understand.
Michael was a good seed. He was definitely a good seed.
He was.
Nothing negative to say about Michael. He was a very good person.
When did Michael pass away?
95.
I believe it was in 1995. Was it 93 or 95? It
was 95.
Yeah, I thought it was 95.
And even speaking to that, I did a live with Bishop Senegal a few weeks ago, and one of the granddaughters had tried to allege that they believe their grandfather had dementia and that we knew about it. We never knew about it.
Sure didn't.
He tried to say that he got it in the early 2000s or 95, and 95 is where everybody feels like he may have lost his mind because he lost his son, which is understandable. But then someone should have sat him down, because what he did for the next 15 to 20 years was destroyed other people's minds. He bled his hurt and pain onto everyone else. We never knew he had dementia.
Right. So that's why when she said that, I was shocked.
It could have been, post-traumatic stress disorder. It could have been grief. It could have been depression. And like you said, your son died.
Right.
Absolutely.
And from what y'all are saying, the good son died.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I didn't like when she mentioned about Maurice wanting to have his 15 minutes of fame.
Who said that?
People, the granddaughter, one of Bishop Reed's granddaughters, to even talk about this is painful.
Right.
To think about it is painful. It does not bring anything positive to us on any level to put this information out there, because we already know how people are going to treat us based on how they have treated us, because we're speaking out against what they have defended and swept under the rug. That really offended me, because that's someone who I care about a lot, who has also experienced sexual abuse. So I was like, why would you say that when we have nothing to gain from this?
Is this someone who is still a supporter of Dwight?
I'm going to be honest, at first I thought she wasn't, but after she said that, it made me wonder, so are you now switching sides to support what he's doing? Because you're the main one who was talking about him doing all of this on Facebook.
Oh, wait. Because he has stuff. Okay, this is Dwight's granddaughter or Jeremiah's granddaughter?
No, this is one of Dwight's niece. This is one of Bishop Jeremiah Reed's granddaughters, who was in Bishop Senegal's clubhouse making negative comments about Maurice, saying that he just wants his 15 minutes of fame. First of all, Bishop Senegal ain't even famous. No disrespect, but he's not. So that was stupid to say.
Well, I mean, you can say church famous.
Okay, but outside of church, if I would have never seen your video, I would have never known who that man is. So to say that anyone is looking for fame off of that. Let's be real. No, we're not.
I hope it
On
wasn't
top
Britney.
of that,
I don't think she would say that, but
it's like on top of that, why does it sound like you're now switching sides to defend your uncle when you were the main one making all the posts against him marrying this girl? It makes no sense to me.
And then, like you can see, that is why there is, a lot of us know that there is an ulterior agenda or motive for all of this.
Oh, sorry.
Why are you fighting against Dwight so hard, but you didn't fight this hard against Jeremiah? And honestly, Jeremiah did and was worse. But because now certain things have switched over, now you're fighting Dwight so hard. And so it makes you question and wonder, okay, well, what was the difference? Why are you fighting Dwight so hard and you didn't push these things when it was going on with Jeremiah? You didn't fight for the girls and the young people who were getting married at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, because that's been going on.
Right.
And to older people.
Right.
You know,
being encouraged to marry these older men.
Jordan isn't the first, and she very, very well may not be the last, because there's still a lot of young people in the church.
Oh no.
And that's what they're doing now by Dwight making it. To me, it's like, you wanted clout, so you put this out there about you, these rumors going on about you and Jordan. I remember when that was being said a couple of years ago. People were like, oh, they think there's something going on between him and Jordan, him vehemently denying it. But then you finally do put it out there, and you put out pictures of this girl sitting on your lap. So now you are basically showing young girls, hey, this is what you should do. You should get with a man that's the same age as your grandfather and sit on this lap. Even for him to say, some people would say she has a come up. What kind of pastor?
Oh my God, when he said that, I was
just like, are you serious right now? You're basically incriminating yourself by even saying that. Like, what is wrong with you? A come up?
And then he said, me and my wife, we sleep well at night. Like, we didn't need to know that.
We don't care. She shouldn't even have been allowed to be your wife. But again, from what was allegedly said by her biological grandfather, this was a business setup. And I'm not surprised, because Dwight has always been involved in shady financial stuff, just like his father. And people can get mad all they want. I was on the board. I know where money was being allocated from them grants, and it wasn't being allocated to the programs that they falsely set up. Right. So Dwight is no different from his father, but the difference is you are blatantly making this an example of something that is acceptable. That is acceptable for an 18-year-old to want a man in his 60s and to be with him for money, which is disgusting.
Right. Teacher Preacher has a really good, hey, Teacher Preacher, has a really good question. Is there a lack of churches that people go to this church knowing what we know?
No, it's like mental conditioning. Okay. Because when you're just like Maurice, how he was raised in it, I was raised in it. We joined the Apostolic Pentecostal Church in Omaha when I was 4. It's the mental conditioning that they literally taught our religion is the only religion. We're the only ones going to heaven. Mm-hmm. This is the only way to heaven. I'm serious. Jesus only. This is the only way to heaven. And anything outside of this is going to hell. And get away from your family, get away from other religions. Mm-hmm. So when you're conditioned to that, you're not going to go anywhere else. Because out of fear, this is where I have to be. I was raised in this. This is all I know. That's what a lot of people even now are saying, that no, it's wrong for him to be with Jordan. Well, this is all I know. Well, maybe all you know is wrong.
That's right. Maybe all you know is wrong.
And that's a realization that those of us who left came to see after we left, that it was completely wrong. But look how many years it took us to come out of it and even be brave enough to talk about it.
Okay. Bishop called other churches play churches. What?
Sure did.
Jeremiah or Dwight or both?
Jeremiah. Yep. He sure did. Get away from your family. They going to hell. They're going to lead you to hell. Don't go to these. Like I said, when I went out of town, and this was a church that was a part of his organization. The pastor was under his leadership that I went out of town when I was 21 and got called out over the pulpit in front of everybody. So it was very controlled. Like,
when did he start doing that? When did he start calling folks out across the pulpit?
Oh, he's been doing that even before I was a member.
Yeah, for as long as we've known, that was his style.
That's his style.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, at GBT, at Greater Bethlehem Temple, the pastor, Nelson G. Turner, would do that too, even though he was allegedly sleeping with a bunch of women at that church, including his assistant, who was his side chick for 30 plus years. That's going to be a whole different live. And yeah, she blatantly, openly talked about it at his funeral, bragged about how she, was with him and stuff. This type of sexual immorality goes on in these churches, and people literally overlook it. Well, I'm not going to judge the pastor. The pastor is human. This is wrong.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I'm speaking out against it, because I'm tired of sitting by silently watching this mess. No, it's not right. And Jordan, I pray that her mind gets unlocked. Because from what has been said, she's pregnant, allegedly.
Wait, Sean 7, is that what he said?
Yep, all Trinity folks are going to hell. He said the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost is not a true doctrine. Anyone following that, Acts 2:38 is a scripture that they use for the foundation to show Jesus only is the way. In Trinity and all other churches and religions are going to hell. Sean at 71, you are absolutely right.
But what about John 3:16? Is that wrong?
Oh yeah, they would use that scripture too, but they would use Acts 2:38 to condemn all people that believed in what they call the Holy Trinity.
There's like a billion Christians in the world, so you know all those other people.
That's what Jeremiah Reed would preach.
Yeah. And closer to when D was
what did he think about the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Hell.
They were fake.
The Mormons too?
Those are play churches. Those are cults. Remember Maurice, he would call the Mormon church a cult?
Yeah. Now we knew that was a cult.
It's calling another church a cult.
Thank you.
Right.
Oh, my Lord.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, my mouth is wide this whole time because I was like,
Baptist, Buddhist.
Actually, ironic, I was raised Baptist in holiness. My aunt was a Sunday school teacher in the Baptist church, and my mom was an evangelist in the holiness church.
Well, you were raised in false doctrine.
Yeah,
guess what? I'm a Catholic now. So I guess I'm still in the false doctrine, huh?
According to him, if you Catholic, you going to hell.
Yeah.
It was every service. Y'all going to hell. Get away from your family. They're going to hell. Get away from other religions. They're all going to hell. Jesus is the only way. This is the only way. Yeah.
And, Sean 71 is bringing up Dr. Goodlet. Now, that's a whole nother situation.
Who's Dr. Gary Goodlet? Is that Jordan?
That's Jordan's grandfather. That's James's father.
And he lost his medical license
is that the step grandfather, not the biological?
No, that's the biological. The paternal.
Wait, I'm confused.
Oh, you know what? No, I forgot that's not James's real dad.
No, Dr. Goodlet was James's stepfather.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that the step grandfather? Right. Okay.
Correct.
Sean 71, stop. Sean said, Captain, you really going at?
I wish I knew who Sean 71 was. I don't
know.
When were you there?
Yeah, Sean, if you don't mind putting it in the chat. When were you there? Do you remember John Miller?
That sounds familiar. John Miller.
Sean, were you raised in the church, or did you go to it like D as an adult?
'95, 96. Okay.
Oh, okay, that was before I got there then.
Yeah, I would have been young.
Well, Sean, when you're ready, I have some questions about the 95, 96 eras. I came with
Oh, Brother Corey. Yeah, we know Brother Corey.
Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. When did you leave Shine 71?
Interesting.
Was he a musician?
Oh, he said he played guitar.
Sean, when did you leave? Because if he was a musician, I probably know.
Are you Caucasian? I feel like I know who.
Is that Brother Corey?
Wait.
Wait, you left 96?
Wait, was okay. I think I know. I have an idea.
I wasn't there very long. Okay.
Yeah, because Brother Corey's still there.
Was John Miller a millionaire?
Oh, is that the millionaire that Bishop?
Yeah.
That he's. Get out. Okay. When I was there, I remember that. I remember Bishop Jeremiah Reed would say things over the pulpit like God's gonna kill so and so, like whoever. He would just give a random name.
He said, "Yeah, I know exactly who you are."
And just like he would say, God's gonna kill this millionaire for making false reports about our church to the Divine Register. Yeah. I'm serious. I remember this. He would always say, God's going to kill so-and-so. And then that person would turn up missing or gone, removed after he would say that.
Were they in your church?
The millionaire was somebody who was an investor at the church and also was an investor in a lot of the programs, like I told you about the different government grants and things that were set up.
Okay, he said he went to a Bible study, and that's where he heard Gary.
Holy bro. Gotcha.
I was receptive to Gary because I never had a lot of church. Okay.
Interesting.
Sean, if you don't mind saying, so you were invited there because of Gary, and you played guitar in the church. What made you leave after about a year? Or almost, I guess, about a year. This is like I'm just, Lord.
That's a lot.
I'm not even the one experiencing it, but I'm hearing y'all say it. And like, G, like you said, you're an empath. I'm an empath too. So when I'm hearing this from y'all, I just feel like I can feel it.
It's like, a lot. Yeah.
Like Thursday, like when I was on, I think it was Wednesday, and like I was listening, and I was showing the virtual presentation, and I heard the victims and the witness. I just felt it. So for like 2 days, I didn't do any lives because I was just like, I can't, you know.
I understand. It's even harder.
It was tough. I love people, music, and even Bishop.
Right.
Was there an incident that made you leave, or was it like you started questioning things and they didn't like it? Maurice, do you have to go? Because I know you have to.
Yeah, I do have to leave.
Okay. Is there one last thing that you want to say to? Because I know I have your book. I put the link in the chat. I'll put it in again. Also, Maurice has a podcast, and I did a previous live about where I read one of Maurice's letters that a viewer asked me to read, and I needed to go lay down after I read it. Will there be another book, Maurice?
There actually will be another book, a volume 2, in probably about a year. There's a lot of letters that I actually left out.
Oh, wow.
Then there's a lot of people that are interested in sharing their stories. And so I just kind of want to take my time. But there is a lot more survivors who are coming forward.
is there somewhere they can reach you? Do you have an
Yeah,
email address you'd be willing to give them
absolutely. You
if they
can,
want? If you want to share your letter with him or have it
yeah,
included in volume 2?
if
Okay,
you
what
want to
is it?
share your letter or your story, you can actually share that at divorcingoccult@gmail.com.
I'm gonna put it divorcingacult@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here is the email address, and I'll make sure I put this in my description.
Perfect. Okay.
So if you're interested in being in volume 2, this is volume 1. I got mine off Amazon. It came I think it came either the next day or the next 2 days. So Maurice, if I meet you, I want you to sign my book.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
cause yeah, I'm just saying, y'all. Is it? I forget which chapter. What is it? Chapter. I told everybody what chapter to go to if they wanted to do the letters, because it was, yeah, it was. Before you leave, Maurice, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Dee. What do you want the people who are still sitting in Christ Apostolic Temple to do?
I would say wake up and take your personal emotions out of it and remember history. Listen to what they say, but pay attention to what they do. Because a lot of people there know that he has been corrupt for a very long time. And everybody is so caught up in this euphoric feeling because they believe that he left his son in charge. But we know the real deal. We know the story. There's still even a lot of people there who have had their own situations that haven't said anything. Dee recently just told me something that blew my mind that I didn't even know. And there was a person who was still struggling to leave and had their own situation. So take your personal feelings out of it. Look at the black and white of the situation and get out of there. Something isn't right and something is 2 and 2 aren't going together. Get out. And don't be afraid to share your story. Don't be afraid to speak up if something is wrong or you feel like something's wrong, because we were so conditioned to not question authority.
Right.
Question it. When you are attending somewhere and you're trusting someone with your soul, your finances, and everything else, ask the hard questions. So that's the advice that I would say.
What about the ones who have left? Because there's still ones.
The ones that have left.
What do you want them to do, or pray that they do?
Seek therapy. And you are valid in your feelings and whatever you went through, and understand that everybody is not in the same place as they're healing. That's why I try not to take it too personally when people come at me or against me, because they're just not at the same place I am, or they are in their healing that I am. I used to be bitter and angry for a long time. So seek therapy. And then when you seek therapy, look for an outlet. Put all of that energy that you have, the hatred you have, the sadness that you have, the financial trauma, physical, emotional, put it into something. I put it into a craft that has fulfilled me in so many different ways. I pursued something that I didn't believe I could pursue as a kid, because we could only work certain jobs. We couldn't go to school and do certain things. And I poured my soul after that, poured my soul into my passion and my craft. And now I am so fulfilled. Those are the things that help bring me peace. I have a garden in my backyard. Those small little things, choose every single day to do something positive for you, because you are going to get triggered often. And there are going to be things that you don't know or you don't realize are triggers that will come up at the most random times. I remember a few years ago, I went through a spell where I would just think of something and just bust out into tears. And I'm not a crier, but it would just be one of those things where I couldn't help it and I couldn't control it, you know, and allow yourself to do that. And also don't hold what happened to you against you. It's not your fault, especially leaving. You know, we all thought we were doing the right thing, you know, and then we found out that we weren't. You know better, you do better. And live in your truth.
I just want to say to Maurice, I'm extremely proud of him. He has come through so much trauma and been able to transform that into a space to help others heal. Even when I read the book, there are some letters that do trigger, you know, the memories, but then there's some letters that it's like, I thank God I saw this because it lets me know I wasn't the only one. And for him to have overcome not just the church, but the other people that turned on him, and to be able to make something so beautiful. Maurice, your strength is amazing. I'm extremely proud of you, bro.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. Y'all need to hit the link right there. I'm going to put it in the description too. Get your book. Like I said, also check out the podcast. All right. And also I have a couple of other videos featuring Maurice and also featuring V2V. So, but thank you, Maurice, for coming up here and sharing with us again and helping us to connect the dots, because I was just like, okay, team, SWAT team. You met what's her name in Hannibal? Yes, I'm like, oh Lord.
Right. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Definitely.
I think I'm gonna give me one of those boards with the
right. Piece it all together.
Piece it all together. You know those boards they have in the detective shows?
Yep.
Right.
One of those.
Right. What's her name? Olivia Pope.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Have a good time.
Thank you for having me. I'll see you guys next time. Love you all.
All right. Love you, bro.
Bye-bye.
Bye. V2V, you still here with us?
Yes, ma'am. I am still here with y'all. Just not
how
here
are you
listening.
doing? I
okay.
guess you can say I'm saving the best for last.
Because y'all know my mouth. Lord help me. But no.
Okay, I'm sorry, B2B. Before we get with you, I forgot to notice. I asked Sean a question. I said, "What made him leave after about a year?" He said, "The confession, the restoration, and the blasting business." Is that what you were saying? And he had a question, but I guess I don't know if V2V and Just D asked this question again. He wanted to know, and we didn't get to ask Maurice. I think he said, do y'all still believe? Where is it? Oh, if you don't mind, are you still a Christian, oneness, or the Trinity? I guess Trinity.
No. After I left and went through my spiritual journey over the next 4 years, I abandoned all of that. I believe Jesus Christ is real. Jesus' real name is Yeshua, the Hebrew name. Yeah. I believe in God. I don't believe in any religion. That's why I don't call myself a Christian, because everything I know about Christianity is corruption. So I will never claim Christianity because I've only known the corrupt side of it. But if you ask me, do I believe in Jesus Christ? Did Jesus die for my sins? Absolutely. Okay. So I define myself as spiritual. I don't define myself as religious.
Mm-hmm. And I am a believer all the way around the board. I still believe in God. I still believe in the Son. I'm for the belief now. Do I believe everything we were taught? It makes to a situation to where I am disillusioned about anything the church says. I am like literally scarred and damaged down to the bone. And me having to walk inside of another church for a long time probably won't happen for me, because it's just too much. For going from having the presiding bishop, which is Jeremiah Reed, so I did at one point send under Robin in Hannibal, me, my mom, and my sisters, after I came back from college. Then I ended up going back to you know, Des Moines and all that stuff. But we did sit under her, so I saw stuff, and I seen what was wrong, and I seen kids be mistreated, and they're not lying. Them children are not making nothing up. And if it was fake, I'd be like, they a lie and they go on their way to hell. I would say something like that. But they not lying. They not lying. And if mine was covered and so many of us was covered in the inside church, why is it so far fetched to believe that a church that came out of the same place we came out would hide something that deep? It's completely crazy for me for some of these quote unquote church people who say they love the Lord and the Lord loved them. Where is the godliness in you that's supposed to speak up, and your Holy Ghost that's supposed to speak up and say this is wrong? Where was any of that at? It has nothing to do with the preacher or who over the pulpit. If God gave you the Holy Ghost, shouldn't it be speaking to you? Shouldn't it work without someone to tell you, yes, be quiet, no, sit down, be stand up? It was like people don't realize the hole that was on our brain. And it was a hole.
BDB, I want to ask you a question. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead.
You said something very important. Okay, so you said, because I remember last time you said you and your family actually grew up in the church. Your family, your mom and your stepdad joined like when you were what, 3 or 4?
My mom joined when she was pregnant with me, and she had my older sister. My 2 older sisters were already here, but she joined when she was pregnant. Matter of fact, she got baptized in the pool at Christ Apostolic Temple, pregnant with me in 1985.
1985. And so were you all? I think you just said it, but I don't know if anyone caught it like I did. You said you guys were from Hannibal, Missouri.
No, we were originally from. We had went after 17 years old, which was in 2003. I went off to college, and I went to college,
sorry.
And before that's how I ended up getting.
Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out. Before your mom came to Christ Apostolic Temple, where were you all at?
We were always at Christ Apostolic Temple. What had happened
always
was,
been there. Okay.
Yeah, what had happened was when I went off to college, I actually left the city and the state of Iowa. Like I was just no longer there. I went to school somewhere else in Chicago, and I was living it up because I didn't have that type of freedom before. And then a bunch of stuff happened, life happened, and I ended up in Hannibal, thinking I'm going to be around people that were wanting to be saved and wanting to live holy. And I knew Des Moines carried a lot of hurt and pain with it. So I tend to stay away from Des Moines. Eventually I ended up going back, but for a period of about 2 or 3 years, I was at the Hannibal Church, which is in Hannibal, Missouri.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So was this like 2000s?
Yes, it was like 2005 through 2000. When did I get married? 2008.
Okay. So did you ever meet Dee when she came over with the SWAT?
I remember the funny thing about it is when they first came to Hannibal to pray through the church, I was there. I remember being there as a kid. I remember being at the scene there. We was there. They was walking around witnessing folks, trying to get folks to come to the church. Because most people don't know is that church was already established because his older son had that church first. It wasn't Robin who had the church. I don't know why his older son left the church in Hannibal, but he just left the church. And there was no pastor for the members there. So that's how Robin got to Hannibal, because Jeremiah Reed assigned her that church in Hannibal. And I remember we got there on the van, the kids rode the van, or the young people rode the van in the bus, and they all came down there, and we walked around and we prayed, because I'm not going to lie, it was dead. It opened the door, it just felt dead. It did. It felt like the Holy Ghost took off and ran at high speed and was gone. Like it was dead. Like you could feel like wasn't no life in this church. And for whatever reason that is, I don't know, because I don't know what happened to be prior to Robin getting there, but I know after she did get there, I start seeing more kids, and I didn't see a whole lot of adults. We would go witness, we would send their children, but wouldn't necessarily come as adults themselves. There is very few adults. It's still like that to this day, where there's about majority of the church is kids. Like you'll see maybe 4 or 5 adults, and the rest of them are children. It's not a lot of people that actually go to this church like that. It's not a huge community. And I honestly remember having seen these kids be out selling peanut brittle at hot in hot weather, cold weather.
What was a
They
peanut
out in
brittle
90
for?
degrees to raise money for the church. It was the kids were the money makers for the church. Besides the chicken dinners or pork steak dinners, the kids would literally have to be out from 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, walking around, knocking on doors. Actually, they want to sell peanut brittle all day, and all they got out the deal was a ice cream cone or one burger apiece. While they sat there and had to go, they had to go to the bathroom and had things to do. It didn't matter. They worked that like it was a full-time job. Literally had them kids out, rain, sleet, or slow, out there selling peanut brittle. And the
So who
kids
was
did
the
most of
money
the selling.
supposed to go to? The youth ministry, the uniform, like what?
Bills, bills of the church. See, the thing that kills me about all this is that what people don't realize is that in that particular church, a lot of the members are receive some type of like assistance of
Mhm.
some type of government assistance. So your asset people are using food stamps to fund these dinners. hmm People using food stamps to fund them dinners. People were really given a bill from the church to pay on top of their own bills and on top of the tithe to pay that they printed out and gave to you with your name on it in an envelope and said you had to pay this bill. This is your bill to pay for the church.
So when you were
Sorry.
at, like you said, you saw the kids out there selling all everything. Did you witness anything that you thought like, oh, that don't look right?
It was a
Her
lot of
being,
stuff I seen that didn't look right. It was a lot of stuff I seen
I
that
mean,
did not look
with the
right.
youth pastor and the children, like besides them selling everything, but like, did you see something that's like, like, I don't know if you were here when Maurice said that. He said his friend, like, she was flirting with his friend, calling him her boyfriend,
Oh yeah, I believe that. Yeah,
and
most definitely.
touched her
Got a history.
friend's penis in the church.
I wouldn't be surprised. That I would not be surprised. I personally have known Michelle for townhouse. I actually know Michelle for a very long time. Her and my older sister were like the best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And Michelle has always been frisky. Is that a good word to put there out there? Yes. She
You said
always
free
been.
or free?
My sister said she was a slut. That's what she just said. I didn't say it. My sister said the
Your
girl
sister?
was a slut.
Okay, all right.
Yes, she's next to me. She that was her testimonial. Um, but she's always been very loose and out there. This is just how she was. So when I see her doing stuff, she was doing stuff in Hannibal she had no business doing anyway. That was brought to her mom's attention, and we were told, you know, that's my daughter. There, y'all just jealous of her anointing. Um, y'all are just after her. Y'all are just working for the devil because you're going after her.
Mm.
And I'm like, ain't nobody lying on her. She really out here freaknicking everybody. Don't matter who it is. No matter the gender. She just doing what she want to do.
Wait,
And
wait,
but she
wait,
become.
wait, wait, wait.
I
Hold
said
on
it.
now. You said no matter the gender.
No matter the gender,
Hold on,
it didn't matter.
I gotta let that digest.
Yeah, let that doctor get all in spirit with it. These ain't no lies over him. I ain't got no reason to lie on this girl or her mama, but I do know for a fact
But people told her mama. Her mama
she
did.
knew.
In my spirit. I'm sorry, that was
She
hilarious.
knew. She knew. People want to pretend like they didn't know none of this stuff was going on. The whole city knows. Hannibal is not that big. It really isn't. You can go walk around that
How
sucker
many
in a
people
day.
in Hannibal?
It's way small. I want to say a couple thousand. You're not even 20,000. Not even that much. It's a small little community.
Mm.
Like it's not that big of a city. It really isn't. Like you literally could walk around that sucker and be fine. But she always had that. People always told her mother what she was doing, and we was made out to seem like we had no reason to say nothing. Oh, don't talk about her. Y'all just jealous of her anointing. They're just jealous of you because she'll come to church and she'll sit in the pew and look all sad and messed up, and her whole life will be jacked up because somebody then told her mama the truth, and she got to go and cover that. There was a lot of underhanded stuff that was going on that was known that she never said nothing about. But she will preach on you, though. She'll preach on your kids. Call them all kind of funky, you're nasty, you deserve to be hit, this and that, without no problem. She would tell your business here from here to California. It's a pattern. And it didn't break. But the thing was, she let her kid go do what they want to do and didn't ring her in.
I'm sorry, Vita V. Do you got the TV on?
No. I'm in the actual Walmart store.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to multitask if y'all had extra people behind me.
I understand. You're a mom, you got to multitask. Okay.
Yeah, so she always had that.
Did you actually yourself go to her mother and say, hey, I saw this and heard this with my own eyes?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, if you don't mind me asking, what did you see her do that you referred to the mother?
Okay, I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
What did you see and hear Michelle do that you told her mother about? The senior pastor. What did you tell her?
The adultery that she had on her husband. Her mother knew about that because the person that
with
she had
another
the
man, or
yes, because
or a minor.
No, this was actually a full-grown man, but she was having an affair with him, and I informed the proper people at the church who knew about this and produced evidence with photos and letters and texts. And
was that man a member of the church?
No, he can't be a member of the church because they beat him up. And they told everyone he was of the devil and he was not allowed in the church.
Okay.
They beat him with like sticks.
They beat him before?
After it was
revealed. After they found out that he was with her?
After they found out that he was with her.
Okay, but who was he before he did it? Was he a member before they beat him up?
No.
Or was he somebody out in Hannibal?
He was my older sister's ex-husband's brother. He was just down there visiting, my sister and her, and her husband at the time, and they got to rapping, and that's how it happened. And they had an ongoing little fling. They had pictures. Yes, yes. And Mama knew she was married, and we also, me being who I am. I mean, if y'all tell us, you're supposed to tell the pastor so they can correct that. So I did that, and I got yelled at. Like, how dare you? If you send pictures to Bishop Reed, maybe it don't matter. Your daughter isn't up here doing some of everything, and you won't tame her. So I took it to the person over you. What's wrong with that? Because you won't tame her. She's hot ass on the loose. I mean, you won't tame her. Yes. 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 With the letters and all.
What? Wait, hold on, wait a minute now. Okay, because remember what Dee said earlier about her ex-fiance. The man told her, do you want us to give what did he say to you, Dee? Do you want to get what?
He asked me that I want to have him removed from the earth.
Removed. So that same man who told her about removing her ex-fiance had your.
They had pictures. They had pictures. They had pictures of the situation. They knew he beat him up. They beat him with. They maced him and everything because they was like.
Wouldn't be surprised.
He was talking.
Like the mafia.
Yeah, it's Apostolic Mafia. Welcome. That's what I said. There's a lot. It is like you blood in and your blood out.
Is anybody else? I'm sorry, I get hot.
They literally told folks that he is of the devil. He's not allowed in here. He's trying to turn Michelle into something different. And it was a consensual. He didn't rape her. Or her. He didn't do nothing to her. She sent him pictures. There was notes, text, letters, everything. And Mom knew this too. And She got up in her pulpit and she said, "This man is of the devil. He's trying to snatch Michelle's man and snatching me, and it's just a spirit. It's a spirit. We gotta attack
They
the
always
spirit.
did it. They would tell you that the person's of
We
the
gotta
devil
attack that
to
spirit.
get
It's a
everybody
spirit."
to turn on them.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
You
they
know,
do. Oh, they
and
of the devil. Don't deal with them. Even though they not of the devil, they trying to expose the stuff that y'all doing.
the more you talk and the more you start questioning things, the more it becomes an issue. Like the thing with the demon squad people thing. Because my ex-husband was a preacher, but I was privy to being at pastors' meetings. So me and somebody else actually asked the question, like, where is this at in the Bible? And I never got an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So, which kind of made me think, okay, you're not answering me like you know how somebody answers a question but goes around the question?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what it was doing. It was like, so what is this mean? So, can you show me or in the Bible where it's okay to do that? It didn't get shown none of this stuff. And when you get to asking questions, and you get to being too nosy and you're not part of the in crowd, the clique,
Mm-hmm.
the board meetings and stuff like that, they don't
Right.
like that. Once you go against the grain, we don't love you no more. We throwing you to the wolves. You got to go.
Wow.
Absolute truth. Absolute truth.
They literally, it's like they cut that love thing off so quick. It's like a snap, like a switch, cause right off.
It'll be like, oh, we love you, come back, come back. And
Yep.
then if they know you're not coming back, oh,
Right.
like what Bishop told me, well, F you, I'm through with you, and God is through with you.
Oh.
The man who was my pastor, who I thought was a father, when I finally told him I couldn't come back because they kept trying to get me to come back, even had my ex-boyfriend had to cuss them out, like, leave her alone, you're acting like y'all some mafia cult. He literally told me, if you don't come back home meaning church, if you don't come back home, I'm through with you, God's through with you, F you.
Yep.
Jeremiah Reed told me that.
Yep.
This is
It's basically right. See, you ain't lying. When you leave, no, we'll get somewhere. When you leave, it's put into your brain and it's beat into your brain the whole time you are there that this is the only place you can be. And once you leave from this ark of safety, then you're just out there for the wolves to get you. And nothing you do and nothing you ever can be is going to be right. You can't go to another church without permission. And so you're not welcome to any other apostolic church that belongs to the organization because you got to have his write-off to get into another church.
Right.
So you kind of forced out there to make your own decision. So you have to make a decision.
Nobody talks to you. Nobody
Right.
talks to you. Nobody deals with you no more. You are literally enemy of the state. Everybody avoids you. Even people on my Facebook now, they act like that.
Like I said, beating up the youth pastors. Worse, she cheating with
she had multiple
fiance. But all the other that sounds like mafia. But but all the other stuff, like you said, if you leave the church, they're not talking to you, they're ostracizing you. That's what cults do.
Mm-hmm. And they literally ostracize you. You really are going to feel it.
You are not supposed to associate with someone who is no longer over here.
But
that's what Mormons do. That's what the Church of Scientology, fundamentalist Mormon sects do. That's what Church of Scientology does.
Yep. But they say that they're not
the Nature Boy cult that I'm over here doing videos about. You do smear campaigns against former members because you don't want them to tell the truth. Literally. You don't want them to listen to them.
And that's what happens. That's what takes away from our experiences is even people who are on my Facebook now that are not members of Christ Apostolic, but, have added me. I watch how they all interact with each other. They'll watch every one of my stories, but they will not like or comment because they don't want other people to know that they're in agreement with me and or that they deal with me. Even some of my so-called friends and longtime friends, I see how they do that. They wishy-washy, two-faced. You comment like on this person's, but you skip over mine or you skip over other people who are speaking out against it. You even know it's wrong, but you don't want people to know that you associate with those of us who have left who are speaking out about it. But yet they don't see that that's cult mentality, even though it is.
You're taught to believe our way is the right way. And I feel like, when people go,
you can attest to this. The same thing was happening to me earlier last year. Would comment in my chat, and they got scared, and because they were like, I don't want to be on nobody's thumbnail,
right?
Because they were over here.
Right.
But it's a fear tactic.
It is. It's like, well, if you talk about it, they're going to come for you. They're going to kill you. They're going to do this. That's why even anytime I have spoken, the first thing I say is I'm, one, divinely protected. I'm a child of God. Number two, anything you do against me, any rising up against me is going to come against you. Because I don't believe in, after decades of being mentally conditioned to fear tactics, I don't fear any of that. Because you're still a person. Even if you have connected with the mafia, God can kill you naturally where nobody had to do nothing. So it's like they got people praying death right now over me, over Maurice, over other people. And the reason I know this, when I was in the SWAT team, they would have us pray for the members that left. They would literally tell us, Bishop would tell us, pray for God to trouble the waters in their life to bring them back home. Pray, SWAT team members, pray for God to don't let them have rest, Lord. Bring them back home. Trouble the waters in their life. That's what I'm saying now. Even telling you this now, it sounds insane.
Try to pray in the Bible. Like that's not the format he told us.
That's what I mean. Like it was a straight up cult, and you don't think it is because you're like, well, I'm following the leader. This is the man of God. And then you start to question it within yourself, but that mental conditioning makes you don't question nothing. Then when you start talking to people, then it's like, well, if I tell so-and-so, they're going to run it back to Bishop. So I can't say nothing to them. And you feel trapped. You literally feel trapped. Because you can see it's wrong, but if you say something, you already know they're going to go tell Bishop. Just like I know people on the live right now that's going to go tell Dwight everything. I told Dwight, I don't care. I'm not scared of you. You or nobody else. Because you a human just like everybody else. In the same way you think you finna come for me, Maurice, or any other former members, be careful what you speak and wish for, because you could be speaking death on yourself while you're praying for death to come on us.
Right. You can be it boomerang and hit you in your house.
I'm trying to tell you. That's why I'm like, I know that fear tactic don't work, but a lot of people, that fear tactic is still working, which is why they're still afraid to speak out about it, even though they're not members, ain't been members. They don't want to speak about it.
V to V, I asked D and I asked Maurice this question. What do you want the current members of Christ Apostolic Temple to do?
What I want y'all to do.
What do you want them to do?
I want y'all to really get a hold of God and ask him, is that really a place you're supposed to be? Where is this right? Is this biblical in the Bible? That's what I need. I need y'all to do that. Because y'all here just dogging and hurting folks. That blood is on your head too. Because you have the Holy Ghost. And you say you have the love of God. It don't cut off because I don't do what you want me to do, or I say what you don't want me to say. If the Holy Ghost is making you do that, then you need to get in your Holy Ghost thing. And then I'm not saying, well, that's a backslider. I may be backslider, but I got sin. And I know God don't work like that. And y'all know God didn't work like that. And if y'all really had God down in you, you would know something is not right. You know something isn't right. And as we were quote unquote taught, get your hat when something's not right. You leave. You don't stay there because that's what you used to be. The hardest thing I had to do is have to break apart and break away from the very people that I love. And I love some of them folks. Like I would literally I would go to bat for some of them folks. And for it to be done what was done to me, and that to be spread to not just me, but other people. You're not seeing what y'all are doing. You're destroying folks, not healing nobody. And what if that was your child? What if that was your daughter? What if that was your son? What if that was the one, your mama, your grandmama? sitting up in there getting yelled at and demeaned. Y'all have taken spiritual, y'all took verbal abuse and put it in place of that love. All that was manipulation and verbal abuse. And I just want y'all to think about what you're doing and think about what you're accomplished. Like, what are you amening on the side? We're amening praying death on people
Right.
when we supposed to be praying for healing and deliverance. Make it make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. You can't say I love you today, and then just because I don't do what you want me to do, or I say something you don't like to say, then you hate me tomorrow. You can't turn love off like that. If you real honest to God love, just think about what y'all doing. Cause y'all hear amen is mess. You out here amen is mess. You might want to talk to some of y'all children and find some things out, because some of y'all children have sat on my couch in Des Moines and had cried tears because they couldn't get hold of you. So some of y'all kind of really need to do that and find out something happened to your child that they just ain't told you about. Like, honestly, a lot of this stuff that's been going on, people held for years
Right.
in silence and in pain and came to church with it, laughed with it, played with it, because I
Right.
did. And people walked right over them for whatever reason. Because they're not doing what I want them to do. They're not being where I want them to be. No. Some reason why people's kids got off was because of that church. Some kids got off because of that. Y'all had so much pressure on our brains to be right and be holy, just holy beyond holy. We couldn't do normal human stuff. Like, you're not allowed to have human feelings. It's been a while, so some of y'all haven't talked to y'all kids. Talk to your
Right.
kids.
I know some of the
Please talk to your
one
kids.
member that I was friends with that said, former member, she said her mom hadn't even met her children. She's like, my mom doesn't even know her grandchildren because I left and she's still there and she will not
Lord,
communicate with me.
Lord have
Right.
mercy.
So that's what I mean. Like when I say it's, they literally condition you to separate
Mm-hmm.
yourself. And like Vita V said, we couldn't do nothing. So you teaching us this lie of holiness that you yourself are not even upholding, because behind closed doors, you're doing every corrupt thing in the book. But then you come to church and drill in our head to be holy. We couldn't wear splits in our skirts. My mom told me a few days ago she was sewing up the pastor's wife's split in her skirt. The 19 year
Wait,
old.
what?
Yeah. Because my mom's a seamstress. She said, oh yeah, she came over to my house so I could sew up her split. And I'm thinking they're still doing that. When I was a member, we could, if your skirt had a split in it, you had to sew it up. You can't walk around with splits in your skirt so as not to entice men. You can't wear
When
open
did split?
shoes.
I'm sorry. When
You
did splits and skirts do that? Now I do see Hollywood stuff when they have the split in the skirt and it's usually like thigh high.
right.
You know, I don't ever
No,
see somebody wearing nothing like that to church.
they would measure our
But
skirts. If your skirt wasn't 3 inches below your knee, it was too short, and you had to go home and change. If you had a split in your skirt, they would make you take it to a seamstress to get the split sewn up so that no part of your leg or ankle showed. You couldn't wear open heeled shoes. You couldn't wear open toed shoes.
what do you
You
mean open
couldn't,
toe shoes?
because you had to look holy. So
Wait,
you have us looking holier than thou, even though you're not behaving holy.
okay, let me ask a question. Can you get your nails done? Can you get your toes done?
You couldn't wear anything that was flashy. Like you couldn't
Oh, is
wear
this
bright.
flashy?
Yeah, well, you couldn't wear bright nail polish. You couldn't wear
This is
makeup.
white. This is American manicure.
You couldn't even wear pants. And when I was coming up, we couldn't go to the movies when I was
What
real.
about makeup?
You couldn't wear makeup. And if you wore any makeup, it had to look supernatural to where you couldn't really tell you even had makeup on. Very strict, but yet very corrupt.
Oh Lord.
So you have this false image of us exuding this holier than thou energy, while the very leaders teaching this aren't practicing it themselves and are doing the most behind closed doors. And as far as like Robin and her daughter, I honestly can't speak on that because I wasn't a member there. I can only speak on my SWAT team experience traveling there to pray them spirits out. But what I can tell you is pastors' children and family are treated like royalty, to where if they have some mess going on, oh, it's like they're above the law. Like it doesn't apply to the pastor's family. So yeah, like she said, might as well be a nun. That's how they wanted us to present ourselves, even though that wasn't at all what was being practiced or taught. When I was a member at Christ Apostolic, I actually was celibate until I left the church because I believed what they taught. So it's like they teach you, you know, sex before marriage is wrong. They teach you adultery is wrong. They teach you all this stuff. Very homophobic, very much hate gay people, hate homophobes, all of that. But yet you got well-known pedophiles, people who have been accused of pedophilia, actual people on sex offender registries are allowed to be in these churches because, quote unquote, God forgives everybody.
Oh my.
So because God forgives everybody, we're not going to put them out, but we are going to ostracize gay people. We are going to ostracize and teach homophobia. I was taught to be homophobic my entire life. And it wasn't until after I was raped that I decided to explore dealing with women.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time when I was in church, I was extremely homophobic. So when Bishop Reed accused me of being a lesbian because I went to Iowa City to spend the weekend with my church friends, I was like, I wasn't know, like back then, my mind was how it was, you know, that homosexuality was wrong. So it was just like, you think about all this stuff, like for people like me, Maurice, Vita V, those of us who were raised in these traditions, were raised in these religions, you do what's expected to be accepted, even if you're not comfortable with it. I was molested by a foster cousin from the ages of 8 to 11, was a female. I struggled with my sexuality as a teenager, but because I was taught to be homophobic, any thought that came up, I would hate myself for having it. I would say, Lord, please, I don't want to be this bad person. I don't want to go to hell. Why am I having these thoughts? Bishop Jeremiah Reed is the only pastor and I was a preacher's daughter, bishop's niece. He was the only pastor I ever talked to about that happening to me. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, daughter, you just have to fight it. It's because of what happened to you. And so that's what I did. I thought, you know, I'm fighting it.